So the way that I look at this is basically very, very simple. The margin that you're making on your agent is at the expense of their opportunity. And nobody's ever addressed the actual source of the problem. They've only managed the symptoms or recreated what the symptoms look like.
I'm Greg Macaluso. I'm here with my business partner, Rich Tomasini. 18 months ago, I brought my independent brokerage over to eXp. And this video is to talk about why independent brokerage models need to see this platform. So let's get into it. So main objective is getting us together because as business partners, we want to talk about like where the growth opportunity lies, why this is existing and what this all could look like. But how you scaled and then us combined then scaled to 2,400 plus agents in 14 countries in 5 years and what that looks like.
Yeah, so basically some of this conversation, many of you guys might not yet be at. You might not be able to meet us at where we're at, not because we're evolved, but we've been through pain and decades in the business enough to start understanding where the blind spots are. First thing, you got to be able to scale and compound with no cost acquisition. Otherwise, you're yesterday's real estate company. Number two, agents want equity. We're tired of renting our careers. And there has never been in the history of this industry disruption like there's been with a model that treats the agent as an owner and also changes the compensation model because we're pretty sober on the fact that the agent's getting all the business.
I mean, the main thing that I look at from trying to describe what has transpired or what can be really important for people to understand, meaning the agent perspective and the broker side perspective, because I'm coming into this as a brokerage owner, right? Is the risk versus the cost versus the opportunity. So, you know, there's risk associated with being a brokerage. That's much grander, right? Now you're taking on all that risk, all that liability. There's cost associated with being the brokerage. You're taking on all that cost in combination with all the risk and liability. And then where is the opportunity then lie for you? And then where does the opportunity then lie for the agents? See, my biggest thing is looking at it from a brokerage perspective. I was able enough to pull my brokerage hat off for a minute and say, from the agent perspective, how am I looking at this? Like, where's my growth plan? But then how does that then in turn help me as the brokerage owner if I give them a growth plan? Well, is it franchising? Well, we all know that model's falling on its face. Where's the opportunity lie? Well, the opportunity lies in, and I've used the term before, is layered growth, which can happen through what this platform offers. So give me an idea what your thoughts are.
So I have a bifurcated thought on that. So one thing is that basically as an agent perspective, would you rather get paid 1% on 10,000 listings or 3% on 50?
Right.
Brokerage owners need to think that way. And it's hard to read the label when you're stuck inside the jar, which is almost every brokerage owner's problem. Yeah. So the way that I look at this is basically very, very simple. The margin that you're making on your agent is at the expense of their opportunity. And nobody's ever addressed the actual source of the problem. They've only managed the symptoms or recreated what the symptoms look like. So this is the first example where I have seen in 25 years of being in this business of a win-win. The agent wins, the brokerage wins. Yep. So let's unpeel that onion for a second. Okay. The list of names of agents that left your brokerage, the talent that has left your brokerage and gone to other, frankly, better value propositions is much more upsetting than the agents that you brought over in the last 6 months.
Right.
And there has to be a way for you to be able to graduate the high value talent to an ownership ability without having to give away part of your business. Right. What we've been able to do here on a platform, eXp is a brokerage, great. Yes, on MLS it says eXp Realty, but we're basically a platform just like any other software company that has reduced the fat off our P&L and been able to give agents autonomy and expansion at no cost acquisition. So would I want to be a full-time manager and cat herder of an independent brokerage? Right. No, you do that because it's just basically the industry that we're in. Not necessary here. What I am is I spend all my time in income producing activities, which is growth, development of people, iteration of my business plan, relational equity. And I plug into the platform of eXp for all the back end. Yeah. So I don't have to hire the 1,700 employees. I don't have to be available around the clock. I can expand anywhere that I want. And I've decided to use myself as a lab test. and I grabbed another mouse of mine and said, hey, listen, are we able to go from here to here faster than it took the greats like Coldwell Banker and all these other big founders of these companies? And the actual fact of the matter is that if you can get rid of the white noise and the narratives and the limited information, I've been able to add 2,400 agents that I have not taken one penny from. And I've been able to expand into over 463 markets into different countries without any cost, any red tape, any salaried people. Yeah. And if that doesn't make you curious, then this is definitely the wrong video to listen to.
Yeah. So you're hitting on exactly. We're going to probably jump around a little bit from what I want to do, and I don't care. It's fine because that's where the gems come, right? So my thought is exactly what you just said. So same thing with me. I took my brokerage that was a smaller independent brokerage, but doing well and
lots of volume
and successful in its own right. But where the opportunity lie for the agents. But here's more so in doing that, in taking that step to remove the boundaries that then I had or what I was limited by. I 5x'd my brokerage in 18 months. That's insane.
And doubled your volume.
No one can do that. And so to your point, where I've used this term before because Glenn himself has said it to me. If you look at it as opposed to being a brokerage, you look at it more as it's a platform or it's a skeleton rather. And I'm just going to insert my business onto that skeleton and build it as big and as grand as one. I've used it from like a housing perspective. It's the foundation. Build your frame as big as you want, and then go build the grandest house you'd like on top of that foundation. That's what it is. And it's offering this opportunity because it's taking away all the limitations you have as a brokerage owner that you don't realizing are limitations.
So the foundation that EXP was built on was reducing expenses and giving opportunity to be recasted back to the people that do all the volume. Yep. And that's why we were able to build a skyscraper on a foundation that you could have built a 20,000 square foot house on. Right. And there are no other brokerage examples that have added 80,000 agents in the last 6 years or less. Right. So obviously we're not all crazy, albeit some of us are. This is real estate, right? The fact of the matter is that this entire platform was built for the brokerage owner. So let's simplify this for a second. Okay. If you have an agent that's doing 300 transactions at your brokerage, you're losing them, or you're making them owner. Right? So that is a problem. You can only offer ownership so many times before you're diluted. Correct. And then what kind of product are we talking about selling? Right. Not easy to sell a brokerage with your name on there. Right. So from the agent perspective at EXP, they're able to actually earn their entire commissions paid in back through performance. Mm-hmm. And that has been incredible because when I came over here in 2017 as one of those examples, a very productive agent, I was able to get all of my $16,000 cap gifted back in stock. What does that mean? Well, it means the stock was $2.87 pre-split when I started getting it. So my wife and I have become accidental beneficiaries of a company that performed far greater than my little LLC that I have called Richard Tomasini Enterprises, which is not sellable. Right. It is now with revenue share, but it's not sellable, right? So from an agent standpoint, I'm paying $1,500 a month for healthcare, and now I pay $900 and we have better healthcare. So the discounted healthcare is an option. From an impatient person standpoint, I have 1,700 people and 6 local brokers to help support me 24/7. From a referral program, I have 88,000 other shareholders that can give referrals to our back channel on Workplace. Mm-hmm. From a collaboration and education standpoint, I have access to people that sell far more than I do. And in my last office, that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. I was the top, which means that I was in the wrong room. Right? So I'm just touching on just a couple little bullet points of what the agent benefits are coming over to EXP. You're going to build long-term wealth through shares. You're going to be able to get some of the shares to the equity program at a 10% discount, which is pretty insane because you're allowed to sell it in 24 hours. That's pretty cool, right? But most importantly, you have the infrastructure in which EXP was built, which is to scale, compound, own your brand, and don't let little dotted geographical lines across the map they taught you in 8th grade become a relevant part of your growth. And as an independent brokerage owner, you haven't solved the problems that your agents are seeking out and craving. No. And it's because you're holding on to your brand.
Yeah, you're holding on to your brand. And I was so I want to we don't have to break down every component of this because there's a lot to unpack if we're going to try and unpack every little facet of this. But I want to break down one important aspect that I've talked about a number of times. everybody wants to tout technology when even as some of the smaller brokerage owners, oh, we have this platform, oh, we have this grand technology. I'm sorry, they're all lying. Everybody has the same technology when it comes to CRMs and search engines and all the abilities to try and drive some of that traffic.
Sure.
When technology comes into play that EXP has, that no one else has, is what you're talking about, which is the cloud and the back office, because of the fact that I've had this conversation now with hundreds of agents, and the same conversation goes like this every time. If you had to ask somebody a question right now in your brokerage, who are you going to? There might be an office manager. There might be a BIC. There's two people. You're waiting for a response back. How many agents have been like, it's been 2 days. My BIC didn't call me back. I have no idea what's going on. They don't have any clue what's going on, or they're trying to get answers to something with a bottleneck that's huge. And it doesn't matter how big the brokerage is. Even in a franchise model, there's bottlenecks in every office. EXP eliminated all of that. I need an answer. I'm going to get it now. I'm going to get it fast, and I'm going to get the correct answer. I'm going to move on. And that to me is more powerful than anything else in the day and age that we live in. We all need to respond to things within seconds these days. Otherwise, you're left behind. Why would you not want to be part of the platform that can give you those answers the fastest? That's the power of what EXP has to offer as far as technology is concerned. So that to me as a brokerage owner is where the giant miss is of most of them. That as grand as you think you can build out your technology package, you're never going to be able to compete with that. That's huge to me. Like that was a big impact to me because it also alleviated my need to be inserted or management to be inserted into the day-to-day operations of what's going on. We're stripping all of that administrative functionality away.
That's
and
right.
being able to then just layer it with growth.
So let's marry the need and value of that with the facts. When COVID happened, we're the only company that doubled in size. That was more than 2 or 3 agents. Easy to double in size when you're that size. We went from 20 to 40,000 agents because we don't need.
I have some of the numbers.
Yeah.
2019, right before COVID hit, there was 25,000 agents at EXP. By 2021, there was 71,000 agents.
Wow.
And now we're over.
I undershot.
Yeah. It's more than doubled. Yeah.
So, the interesting concept here for brokerage owners is that we know what your blind spots are. You're working in silos. If people can't drive to your office, you don't think that they can work for you. That's a old truth. It's not current. Okay. Number 2, the agents that are leaving you are the ones that you don't want to go in most cases. At EXP, it's the opposite. Most of the agents that leave EXP are doing less than 1 transaction a year. Right. So when you lose a Greg Macaluso from the boutique firm that he came from, it's crushing. It's 50% of your volume or 70% of your volume, right? So that doesn't really diversify you very well, right? You have a lot of eggs in one basket. As a brokerage owner, you're paying retail for all of these antiquated costs. You got people scrolling Facebook and Instagram. You got boards. You got all these payroll positions, and they're unnecessary. I mean, we bring over mega team leaders here or independent brokerage owners under the mega team structure, and the maximum payout that EXP is going to gain from each agent is $4,000 maximum in commission, right? The amount of access and tools that you have through this company make it a value proposition that is a no-brainer for anybody that's been in the game for a long time.
Yep.
The biggest problem that we have for independent brokerage owners is that they've started to lose curiosity because they have sold themselves this idea that 100% minus my expenses is more profitable or drives more revenue than other platforms. And that is a very expensive place to land.
Yeah, 100%.
Even though I understand how you land there.
From a cost perspective, in most case scenarios, you're talking about cost that is anywhere from upwards of 40, 50%, really.
For sure.
To could be upwards of 70%. Yeah. And in a lot of case scenarios, the brokerage owners, if they're not running lean and tight and going back and reviewing their systems and understanding like where they're falling on things, there's so much money getting left on the table on a regular basis from a cost. Like I'm saying this from experience, right?
Sure.
And I feel like I'm somebody that was pretty dialed in. I've built other groups before in another industry. Like I knew how to run lean. It still cost me a astronomical amount per agent. And then you couple in the risk with that, then forget it.
Carrying cost.
But the cost per agent. Now you strip all of that away. And I'm sorry, I go back to this like from a sales perspective because everybody knows this. If you're not growing, you're dying, right?
Yes.
So can I grow faster in a platform that my cost is 0 and now I'm basically bringing people into the fold of something that is already built, running, smooth, operational, functional and takes all of that off my plate so I can continue to grow? Or am getting into minutia and the weeds and being a bottleneck is going to help me grow? It's simple. It's simple from that perspective.
And we're not even going to get into slippage and breakage and all of these different business terms of how we control expenses and margins. It's just basically fundamentally this simple, because we are essentially talking to real estate people. A for sale by owner that is trying to save themselves 6% and leaves 12% on the table is exactly the dynamic that we've seen 5,200 teams and independent brokerages realize in front of us on Zoom calls or face to face. And if you keep seeing these examples, I start to wonder, why is someone like me who doesn't have a business degree able to run 2,400 agents and not deal with any management liability? Specific training is not on my shoulders. I'm only supplemental where I want to train on. Why are we not treating technicians as entrepreneurs? Because they are.
Yeah. Well, we all are in this business. That's the miss. That's the giant miss. Somehow the miss in this business from years ago became this dialogue and this ideology that somehow you're an employee of a brokerage, which a lot of agents take on as a persona.
They work on the front desk for free.
You're not. You're every single person that went out and got a real estate license is an entrepreneur. I've done it when I talk to more people. Raise your hand. Who's an entrepreneur? It better be everybody in the room, because you all are. So as soon as you got your license, you became an entrepreneur. Why wouldn't you want to build a platform that promotes that entrepreneurial spirit instead of one that's actually hindering it? That's the difference of what this has.
Agents have one of two choices. They're either tired because they're so busy and they figured it out how to lead generate, or they're anxious because of the valleys in their production line.
They're riding a roller coaster.
Yeah, and you know what? There are other options out there, albeit they haven't been up here for a long time. And it's really as credible as the person that's presenting it to you for you to sit down and take a look at it. Most people are bad at time management. Most people aren't critically thinking. Most people are too busy counterpunching to do some real punching. And what we ask independent brokerage owners to do is, in the deepest, darkest, most private places of your house, to sit down and listen. We know what your pain points are. They're all the same. For many independent brokerage owners, I mean, just one liable case, I asked a classroom of 500 people, have any real estate agents ever made a mistake in any of their deals from day one till now? 100% of the people raised their hands. Whose license was that under? Yours? Right? I'm a really good former real estate agent. I've made mistakes. So from the agent perspective and from the brokerage perspective, it's a win when you do the math. You just have to be able to get to the calculator. Now, one thing that's interesting is that you said something earlier to me that was it was the most honest lie I've heard, which was basically this business has changed a lot. And what you're saying is that technology has impacted this business, and the dynamics in which we operate has changed quite a bit. And that is a truth. The lie is this is the last business that's changed. Uber beat out Yellow Cab because they shaved expenses. Amazon crippled Walmart. Mom and pops were crippled by Walmart. Every piece of streaming technology, every single thing that every real estate agent is using to make their money is cloud-based. Expenses are down, retail prices less, expenses are less for the broker. It's a win-win. This is the last of the Mohicans. This is the 10,000-mile tire of having a brick and mortar office and then having to spend $800,000 because you want to have a satellite office in a new city. We opened the UK under our group organization. We have 411 estate agents for $0. Right. So, I mean, the point is that the cost of plugging into a robust, streamlined hub and maintaining my autonomy, my niche of business, my ability to run and operate my team with my own creativity, not to be stuck in any box, is an unbelievable experience. And that's why someone like me, by myself, jumped into this company in 2017 and then found business partners that would have never talked to me. Greg, you would have never done business with me.
I was literally gonna hit on that. I was gonna say that at some point. It's like, so the two of us sitting here talking about this and trying to tell other people about this doesn't happen at any other company. Any company that's listening to this right now, any company, any brokerages listening to this, any agents listening to this. So you're sitting down with another agent that was a top selling agent, that you're a part of a group that's expanding and growing together. Do you talk to them? No. You don't share anything with them. You got to keep it here. You can't share this. It's not going to help. It's not going to help your family. This is the first scenario that it does. So now all of a sudden now we have all of this ability for agents that are powerhouses and brokerages that come and collaborate and come together to build something even greater. That doesn't exist.
Being a shareholder keeps our referrals in house fundamentally.
Yeah.
I've learned more in the last 5.5 years of being an EXP than I did in the 25 years I've been licensed because of the people that I've been around that are willing and incentivized to talk to me.
Yeah.
Number two, think about it for a second. What is the single most developmental role that you've had in your life experience? If you're a parent, it's raising kids.
Yeah.
And do you want to raise your kids to where they're always safeguarded and in your house when they're 45 years old with their second wife and their 8 kids?
Asking
No,
you
you
every
don't.
question.
You want to develop agents to be independent brokerage owners. And with a revenue share organization, you're allowed to do that. And you guys can surf the same wave and work together.
Yeah.
And that compounding interest that we have on the very newest agent at the company is dangerous for our competitors. Yeah. The other thing too is that you have 1 or 2 recruiters in any of these antiquated independent brokerages and you're paying them a few $100,000 and they all burn out. No one lasts over 24 months. They just can't deal with the absolute enormous Herculean task of constantly bringing agents over, right? Well, with this, we have 88,000 agents that are ambassadors for the company that have an incentive to grow the company, and you don't have to go under their team names or their own autonomy. You don't have to even live near them. And that is a very, very hard thing to combat. I would never want to combat 88,000 farmers with pitchforks, right? Over one person with a sword.
Right. And that, and that point is what I guess we started this whole thing off with. It's a compounding growth that now the analogy that I've used is made as a small snowball that started rolling down the hill. Well, now it's a giant snowball that it can't be stopped. So that's going to continue rolling down the hill. Do you want to stand in front of it and try and stop it, or do you want to basically jump on and go along for the ride? Because at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening now is as much as you can keep filling, even with those recruiters, as much as you can keep filling your front end, you're losing them out the back door.
I mean, listen, if your company is roughly the same size as it was last year or smaller, you're terminal.
Yeah.
So we have to change our way of thinking, what we eat, how we behave in the space. Yeah. We can't be unaware. You know, when fear starts to settle in all of us, a lot of times we retract and we lean out. And what I've noticed is the most successful independent brokerage owners like Chuck Fazio that came with 600 agents or whatever, he's at 9,000 agents, or Mitch down in Florida that's at 2,100 agents, right? Is that the people that are able to move before the pain is intolerable, they don't have to get to rock bottom to make a decision. They're unstoppable. And they come over to this model. So for example, if I had my own brokerage of 100 agents dispersed throughout the Southeast, and I had all these expenses, and I was able to reduce this to a maximum of $4,000 commission per agent for the ones that capped, right? But let's just say I was able to do that, right? So right off the bat, I'm in the black. Now, in addition to that, all of those agents are getting stock. In addition to that, my top performers are getting their money back, so they get real sticky and they get enthusiastic. An enthusiastic agent is a recruiting tool, okay? In addition to that, all the liabilities off me. So now all I'm spending time on is growth, marketing, strategy, and developing people that are skilled enough to attract other people, right? In addition to that, I have 100 people that in time with care and development and support can have 1,000 people underneath each of them. Right? So even if the 80-20 rule is unbreakable, which it is, I have 20.
Yeah.
So basically for my 55 colleagues that I brought over to the company, 6 of those 55 have gotten this and were able to follow the conversation and not tune out. And that makes up 2/3 or almost 3/4 of our entire organization. So how do I get the best people around me versus just followership? Yeah. And it only can be done when their incentive is equal to yours.
Exactly. And that's what I've talked about a number of times as well, is that, you know, the rev share aspect of not the idea of that the rev share is this, we've said it a number of times, this compounding growth, but the underlying factor of that is stickiness for your top performers. And it's stickiness in the growth opportunities that you have. It's opportunity that the agents that are part of your organization would never otherwise have. When you combine all those things together into what rev share then looks like, you almost remove the idea of rev share. It's just growth.
It's just ownership and growth. So basically, here's the thing. is that if your currency is about making dollars, this is a no-brainer for you, because if you have a calculator and an 8th grade education, we can work through all of that. Actually, frankly, I probably tuned out in 6th grade, so let's just lower that, okay? Second thing, how many brokerage owners have created multimillionaires? If you're a millionaire right now and you have
Created.
yeah, if you have $1.1 million of net worth, yes, you're officially a millionaire in the biggest inflation time of recent history. Okay, so it's like being yesterday's 500,000-aire. If you're a multimillionaire, right, and you're a business owner, how many other multimillionaires have you developed? And then, by the way, what was the price they paid for that money?
Yeah.
Right? Here at this company, Glenn has probably created 900 of us, and he's probably got 2,000 on deck.
Yeah.
So if the opportunity isn't duplicatable, you're having to test all your agents on loyalty. And a lot of people are conflating loyalty with repeat business. A lot of people will repeat businesses because they're into patterns and they don't like changing things up and they hate change. But that's not loyalty. Because as soon as somebody who's skilled, like the two of us, if you think, as soon as I mean, that's subjective, but as soon as somebody who's skilled and understands the model, they get them every time. It's very hard. If you take one of my Icon agents or one of my revenue share agents, it is almost impossible to steal one from me.
Oh, I agree completely.
Where it is, I can steal one from you in 25 minutes.
Yeah. Once it's understood, the value prop, it's not apples to apples.
It's the little piggy with the straw house versus the brick house. So what we're trying to do is slowly educate with the more experienced agents like us that ran their own indies, ran mega teams. Most indies are just basically inflated mega teams with the building, right?
With more overhead and liability.
Yep. Or agents that are at burnout and they know they can't tread water for another 20 years. What we're trying to do is let's start looking at the math. We basically have this one total component of the model where you can outperform it and get all your money back. And if the stock goes for a ride or it goes down to zero, that's the basic deciding factor. But you're going to, like for us, if you look at the history, the stock's been very good. I don't have tarot cards. I don't know what it's going to do down the road.
Nobody does.
But it's been doing well. If you look at the rest of the companies, our percentages are always up, right? Number two, every one of your agents are going to be better financially prepared for retirement. What's the retirement age for realtors? Do you know?
None.
We'd have to call a funeral home, right? And then the last part is that every real estate agent has relational equity with people that don't live in the same town that they are. And this is the first opportunity that they can do business together. Like I'd love to be able to do business with my best friend from high school that lives in Nebraska. Yeah. Because I'm not going to Nebraska for fun, right?
Yeah. I'm an example of that. So when I came in, that's the way I was able to
we live an hour away. Because how do we interact this way?
Well, because we live.
And then your ripple effect of that.
Yeah. So all of a sudden now, like so I went from in an 18-month period from being in 2 states because I'm bordering South Carolina here.
Yeah, we naturally are 2 states in Charlotte.
Okay, naturally in 2 states, and that's fine. That's kind of cool. But then I went to 14 states in 18 months.
Yeah,
like
despite your focus on it.
How does that happen? Well, it happens because this is the first time where all those barriers are now torn down. And the borders of states are torn down.
This is basically like one of the largest examples of organic growth ever seen in the industry. And that's why
it's grassroots.
It's grassroots.
Right. That's the cool part about it.
Because I don't know who's a good agent. I only know who's a productive agent. And I don't know about you guys, but I've met many productive agents that I don't want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Right. So what we have is basically a core value setup. And if your core values are aligned with the company, you seem to stay. And if you're that type of person that gets to know the company, you're welcome to invite anybody that you want that feels like a match.
Yeah. And those agents that are on that productivity level that you're talking about that see the value, they're going to stay because of 2 reasons. They're going to stay because obviously the value of what the company has to offer, but they're also going to have the greatest opportunity that they had.
The same as us.
It's the exact same opportunity, and that's the
88,000
game
people.
changer.
In the nation, 78,000 people, because we have 10,000 international agents, are on the exact same pay plan. You're either just on a mega team, standard team, self-organized team, or solo. But they're all also identical.
And that changes from, again, there's another huge factor that comes into from a collaboration standpoint. And look, I'll be the one that rips the Band-Aid off of this one, is realistically what ends up happening in most independent brokerage models. How do you hold on and retain your top talent? You end up cutting them some side deal, or you cut them a higher percentage. And now you're bleeding because you're trying to give them a higher payout to keep them happy, to keep them there. And what does that do? It creates animosity with the rest of the sales force.
Sure.
And now has your top agent basically hemorrhaging your company because you're barely even being compensated for the fact that they're sitting there giving you the numbers that you need to have in order to stay alive. It's basically a never-ending cycle of going down a path of demise. And now this is the first opportunity where you feel like, regardless of even if it's somebody that's part of your organization, you can go to any EXP meeting and you're sitting in a meeting now with all these people and you're looking across the room and you're like, all these guys are in the same payout as me.
Every single
one of them is exactly the same as me.
The opportunity is identical.
It's unbelievable how much that then lends to collaboration then too, though, because it's like, all right, I'm not looking across at you and be like, oh, you're the top producer over there. You must be getting some side deal. It's no, hey, we're all doing this together. Let's share.
When you have a unique and explosive opportunity, it seems to attract people that are looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not looking for an opportunity, the world needs average people too. Like there's absolutely no harm in that, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is you're either trying to build something that's going to take care of you or you're trying to survive. And what I like about that, albeit a bit of an elitist mentality, is that I only say all that from basic observations. Like we have a lot of agents that are working deal to deal. And if you really honestly interview them, they're not happy. Their anxiety is too high. It's not fair. They work too hard for it. So if you have stock building over the course of your 30-year career, and you have the ability to earn all your money back on the good years that you had, and you have support like you've never seen before, and discounted healthcare and tech and tools that you've never been able to experience, and your past independent brokerage couldn't afford to plug into them, right? That is key. And what does that look like when it compounds and grows over years? It's pretty fascinating. Mm-hmm. So EXP is not a brokerage in my mind. It's a revolution of agents saying, we work too hard to rent our careers. And we have so many agents that have basically been brainwashed, myself included for a period of time, to think that, oh, my rental house is way better than yours because I have a water slide in the pool, or it's on a no fixed bridge canal in the Intracoastal, or my rental house has a view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. They're not your homes. You're building someone else's assets. And I think that there's been pioneers like Gary Vee and a lot of these people that we see on the big stages that are understanding that it's about databases. It's about your branding. It's about followership and influence. And if you start to build those things, you will be the pioneer, the future of this industry, even if you've been licensed for 2 weeks. If you're an independent brokerage owner, you're basically going to sit there and say the honeymoon, what was that? The Ralph Cramden show. Honeymooners. That's the best show that ever happened. Well, I'm like, dude, have you just watched Succession? That's a way better show, right? So like you can hold on to that and then use a Kung Fu grip to basically hold on to what used to work. Yeah. But that is not what whoever started that company initiated the company. A lot of people, it's really tough too, because if you are in a business with someone that you love, it's very hard to take risk on something that someone else built and entrusted you with. Mm-hmm. And one thing that Greg and I have been very fortunate in is that we've not had to protect anyone else's legacy. We had the luxury of being able to build our own. Mm-hmm. And we came over here and we built it very fast and in a way that served the people exactly the way that it served us. And if you guys don't think that that's a revolution, that's what propels our confidence level to think that we can grab agents from anywhere with a calculator and an open mind.
Yeah, it changes everything.
Everything.
And that is about as perfect as anything could have been said. So thanks for that, man, because it's truth. Right now, I'm sitting here like listening to even you talk about this, like after all the time that we've spent now talking about this over the last few years, and it still gets me excited about it, and I still get excited about the fact that I can help others do this. The greatest gift that I feel like people as leaders want to provide to the agents that are part of their organization, meaning, or if it's an independent brokerages, they want to see people succeed. That's their original intentions. People are coming from a good place. I believe that.
Independent brokerage owners are good-hearted people.
They're coming from
because they're not making any money.
No.
So that's how we know. And if they are, are they providing so much value.
And so they're doing that because they want to see others succeed. Because in their mindset, and I've said this before, is that they wanted to leverage others to then hopefully then it helps build their family. But they're coming from the correct place. Where the rub, the issue, the problem lies is everything that you just said.
Yeah.
None of those opportunities then exist then for them to then propel it forward. And that's where the fail becomes. And now you're putting yourself in a trap because you're going to hold on to something longer than you should because you're doing it from a good place.
That's right.
Remove it for a second. Remove your idea of what it was about for a second.
Why did you set out to do this?
You set out to do this because you wanted to build a legacy for your family. Mm-hmm. You set out to do this because you wanted to help others. What if you could do that in a way that's faster, better, more efficient, more cost effective, less liability, all of the things that you actually really embrace about what an entrepreneurial ownership, independent ownership in something was. What if you could do all those things and now just plug into a platform and now it allows you to do it at a better level? That's what this is all about.
Because the cost of being able to do that is that you have to let go.
You have to let go.
And have a paradigm shift and be open. And it's very hard to do that. So like, we're both the same age and it's taken me a long time to grow up. Well, and one thing that I'm realizing as I get older is that every single thing that gives me some kind of emotional trigger is because I suffer or I'm guilty from it. And what we need people to do is start doing some critical thinking and stop just repeating things that you said 9 years ago that really don't carry water. They don't apply. One of the things that I think is super crazy about the industry as it sits right now is that our best market that we've ever experienced in the history of this business is behind us.
It's behind us, yeah.
And your bills aren't going down, they're going to go up. Mm-hmm. And if you start cutting things, your agents are going to leave. Mm-hmm. We don't have to deal with that. We're Teflon to all of it. Mm-hmm. So for agents that are out there looking at this is an opportunity for you to basically get the cliff notes off the book, The E-Myth. You can go and be a technician and be an entrepreneur concurrently and not have to be the manager. Yeah. And for all of you independent brokerage owners, you should look at one column of your expenses and your growth. And let's just go back for however long you've been and look at one column of what your expenses would be with here and look at what our growth patterns are. And as soon as you realize that and marry that with the fact that your agents will get the biggest increase value proposition gifted to them with one decision, then you could take your logo, your brand, your vision, plug it in like a toaster and start growing and helping other people transform their lives. You could be transactional or you could be transformational. I think it's a both.
Yeah, yeah. And you're doing it all the while by accomplishing exactly what you set out to accomplish. That to me was that was the game changer in my mind of like saying, why would I bring the brokerage over? Because it's like, all right, am I giving up? What am I giving up? That's what you start thinking about. What am I giving up? I'm giving up control. No, really not.
No, you're giving up stress.
I'm giving up. I gave up stress.
Although you haven't acknowledged it yet.
Yeah, I gave up stress. I gave up liability, cost, and basically all of the negatives that I didn't like about the aspect of owning the business.
Confinement and where you can sell and who you can work with.
Yep. And it led me
bookkeeping.
So all right. So listen,
I haven't touched my business checkbook in 5 years.
I was one of those people that I felt like when I was running the brokerage that had those things dialed in, and I'm sure there's independent brokerages out there that have it dialed in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not.
You were just doing all the jobs.
But I was just doing Or I was outsourcing it to companies that I realized can do it well for me, and that's all well and good, and I'm being as efficient as I can be. You still can't keep up with the growth opportunity that then combines with this. So that's like, so as efficient as I can be, I can't compete with how fast this is tracking past me.
Yeah. So you're trying to scale a hero.
Yeah. So it's impossible to do that. And again, it goes back to what we just said before, your bottleneck. So
hey, listen, teamwork makes the dream work. Here you can build your team anywhere you want with the highest quality people and you choose them.
Yeah.
Number two, very important part here, okay, is that in this model that we're at with EXP, we are just on the brink of you guys seeing what we're going to be able to do here. Mm-hmm. EXP is just warming up. There's 1.5 million agents. We've got 78,000 of them in the country. Mm-hmm. You know how many agents there are in the world? I know this because I'm in a global real estate company. Many agents are not licensed in India and all kinds of markets. They're not licensed. There's millions and millions and millions of real estate transactions that go on globally by unlicensed agents because it's just not part of their protocol. The growth of this company we're in diapers. Right. And, that's why you see the big real estate companies targeting us so hard. They are scared to death. Mm-hmm. If you look at a heat map of our sales in this company, almost the entire Midwest hasn't even heard of us. Many of the smaller towns 100 miles in from a coastline haven't heard of us. Yeah. This is an opportunity of a lifetime, and you're right in it. So you either have sunglasses on or you have reading glasses on.
Yeah. I mean, like the numbers that I was talking about before. So I go back to this. 2017, when you joined the brokerage, there's 6,000 agents.
3,700 on August 4th of 2017.
Okay. By the end of the year, there was 6,000. So there was a big growth then.
Yeah.
A lot of that sparked from the Icon agent, which is the ability to get your cap back.
Yeah. It took all the high performers from other companies and drove this as an option.
It became a no-brainer for them.
Yeah.
So now with the beauty of what ended up happening with a setup like that for all this growth and this explosion and this continued then growth of where we're at right now is your top performers are going to be looking for something like this. So now they get to find it.
They can't stop hearing about it. We're vocal.
Yeah. Well, and why not? Because everyone has the opportunity. So now you have 88,000 people
enthusiastic. It's never happened before.
Cheering it.
It's hard to get 88,000 realtors enthusiastic
about anything
at some point in their career, any point.
So,
just a side note.
Okay.
My watch beeps at every hour, so I can be mindful of what I just did with the last hour.
That's good. Oh, that's good.
At least this last one we got on film.
This was good. Going back to what I was just saying is what I found is interesting about this. So you see this explosion, right? Because you're targeting as a company. I don't want to say targeting. That's not really the way I want to say it. I want to say it more as it became an opportunity. It's the first time you're seeing an opportunity for solo agent, smaller team, larger team, independent brokerage. Name another model that's out there. Name another
that services all of those.
That services everything in a way that's compounding growth and ability for all of them to scale. All of them
and commercial
equally. There's nothing that does it. So that's where the numbers, like when I look at charts like this and all this, it starts dawning on you when you're sitting there looking at it, like, all right, so I'm doing things right. I care. I'm coming from a right place. So I'm doing all the things that I've been told for years and taught and learned as I get older in life that's propel you to success or greater success because you're being selfless in your actions and you're trying to help others, but you're doing it the wrong way. And it's
doing
amazing.
it the way that somebody who had self-interest taught you.
Yes, an antiquated way. Yeah. And suddenly then when you get to peel the layers back and look at where the opportunity exists here is now you just opened up the gamut for me as an entrepreneur to talk to anyone of where their opportunity lies. And I love that because now I can have conversations with you as the independent brokerage owner. This is where an opportunity is for you to help your agents and do what you wanted to do. You as
and they get exposure to you.
And we get to do it together, right?
Yeah.
We get to do it together.
Yeah. Now Greg's your free partner. Now Rich is your free partner.
Free partners.
So you have different perspectives that are able to touch your people.
We talked about the layered growth too, right? So it's because of the layers that the revenue share portion goes down. You're not only one to one. So it's not us sitting here. It's me to you, plus the agents that I bring in, plus the agents below them.
That's right.
And it keeps going down the line. And that's
the village raises the child now.
Yeah. Which is how it's supposed to be.
It's the
especially in this industry.
It's the way that life started and will end.
Yeah. So basically with everything we just discussed, the main thing is that we're trying to get across here is that if you're one of the people that this makes sense for, this is an opportunity that you need to really look at.
We've got the time and seasoning to help walk you through the numbers, the operations, the logistics. This is definitely part of the due diligence that you should be doing on your business every single quarter.
Yeah. And here's where the opportunity lies.